Karoline Leavitt just got laughed out of the press briefing room, and it wasn't a liberal reporter who did it. It was a conservative one. She was asked a simple question about Donald Trump's obviously racist social media posts, and she couldn't respond. She had nothing. The answer she attempted to give reveals exactly how MAGA operates. They create a boogeyman out of the left while defending the indefensible from their own side. It was ridiculous. The room laughed. And that wasn't even the worst moment of this press conference. Leavitt also had to confront a legal defeat happening in her own home state. We'll get to that. But first I want to show you something that journalist Aaron Rupar put together. It's Leavitt claiming that problematic posts aren't actually from Trump, spliced with Trump himself, bragging that every post comes directly from him. The post should be taken as the policy of the Trump administration. It's coming straight from the horse's mouth. When you see it on Truth Social, you know it's directly from President Trump. That's the beauty of this president and his transparency and relaying this administration's policies to all of you and to the rest of the world, that somebody post a staffer, post. And I knew it was all about, if you take a look at that and see the whole thing. It was a small section at the very end, but that was about fraudulent intellections, which we have a lot of them. We're going to get a stop. And I like the beginning. I thought and just passed it on, and I guess probably nobody reviewed the end of it because what I saw at the beginning was really, really strong. It was about fraudulent elections. And so every post on Truth Social comes directly from Trump himself, except when you need to delete something racist. Then suddenly it was a staffer. These people lie shamelessly, and they assume nobody will notice. They don't think we're foolish. They think their own supporters are. And honestly, if you're still backing this administration after everything we've witnessed, you've either been deceived or you have billions of dollars benefiting from the chaos. Those are the only explanations. Leavitt operates with this same contempt. She believes she can say whatever she wants without accountability. That's exactly what happened when she faced questions about free speech. And the question itself was disturbing. Go ahead, Karoline. There's been a series of walkouts from public school students that have been sort of provoked by a number of public school administrators. What are your thoughts on this? What's the administration's thoughts on this? Will they be taking any actions on these walkouts against ICE? Look, I think obviously the president and the administration support the First Amendment rights of all American citizens, and if they're peacefully protesting, then that's their constitutional obligation and right and responsibility to do so. Of course, the administration also wants to see American school children in school, learning and educating. And I think it does speak to the left-wing bias that is unfortunately very present in our nation's public school system. And it's something that Secretary McMahon has been working very hard to root out of our public school system by ensuring that local governance and local control takes place over our nation's public schools, and that parents and educators closest to students have a greater say over curriculum and academia in our country. I need to address the nature of this question. A reporter in the White House briefing room asked what the administration plans to do about students walking out of classrooms. What exactly would they do? Arrest teenagers? Actually, with this administration, that wouldn't be surprising. But think about what's being framed as left-wing bias here. 15 and 16-year-old kids who don't want their classmates dragged out of gymnasium class by agents engaging in racial profiling. That's what they're calling radical. This administration has made racial profiling standard practice. That's precisely what Leavitt was questioned about next, and she completely failed to respond. The room laughed at her today. In his statement about Jesse Jackson, the president said, "Despite the fact that I'm falsely and consistently called a racist by the scoundrels and lunatics on the radical left, Democrats all, it was always my pleasure to help Jesse along the way." Where or when does the president believe he's been falsely called racist? You're kidding, right? I will pull you plethora of examples. I'm going to get my team in that room to start going through the internet of radical Democrats throughout the years, Ed, who have accused this president falsely of being a racist. And I'm sure there's many people in this room and on network television across the country who have accused him of the same. In fact, I know that because I've seen it with my own eyes. And there's something important beyond Leavitt simply appearing foolish on camera. When pressed for evidence, her response was, "I'll get my team to compile some examples. If you believe something so completely that you'd respond, 'Are you serious?' to a question, 'Wouldn't you have immediate evidence ready?' She had nothing because nothing exists. There are no examples of Trump being incorrectly labeled racist. The label fits perfectly. But here's what matters more than her embarrassment. Notice how Leavitt framed her eventual search for evidence. She said they would go to the internet and track down examples online. She didn't reference Senator Mark Kelly making a statement. She didn't mention Congresswoman Ilhan Omar. She didn't cite Governor Gavin Newsom posting something. She's not talking about Democratic elected officials because no prominent Democrat has falsely accused Trump of racism. They've accurately identified his racism. What MAGA does instead is locate random individuals posting extreme content on TikTok, people with zero connection to the Democratic Party or any progressive movement. Then they attribute those random posts to the entire left. Meanwhile, the racist and disgusting statements from Donald Trump, the President of the United States, the individual leading the Republican Party for over a decade, somehow don't represent Republicans. Trump has dominated this party since 2015. Arguably, since late 2012, after Romney's defeat, for more than 10 years, he has been the face of Republican politics. Yet mainstream media refuses to attribute his statements to him or to his supporters. It reminds me of when my friend Adam Mockler appeared on CNN. Scott Jennings was demanding that Adam condemn political violence and extreme rhetoric. Adam's response was perfect. "I'm a 23-year-old content creator, and you're demanding more accountability from me than from the President of the United States." That's exactly what's happening here. Leavitt promises to find examples of Trump being unfairly criticized by some random internet user. Not the New York Times, not mainstream press, not elected Democrats who represent the party. Random people online get to represent the entire left. But when we identify Trump as an obvious bigot, media coverage lasts approximately 5 minutes. Trump's racist posts targeting the Obamas. That story survived maybe one day before everyone moved forward to the next thing. Consider Congressman Randy Fine's post where he wrote that the choice is clear between dogs and Muslims, one of the most vile, bigoted statements I've witnessed from any member of Congress. What happened? We moved on. Representative Rowana is currently pursuing a censure against that disgusting statement. Good. But remember when Representative Al Green interrupted Trump's address to Congress, just raised his voice briefly. Democrats censured him. The double standard is staggering. One side faces zero accountability. The other gets punished for minor disruptions. I'm exhausted by it. But speaking of accountability, there's one area where it's actually happening. It's occurring in Leavitt's own home state. She was questioned about it directly. Down the street from your Alma M College, talking about building an ICE facility that's causing a lot of political aid in New Hampshire and for the Republican governor, Kelly Ayotte. Seems to be some miscommunications argued on both sides. Even Republican supporters of Trump who live in the town say, "We're not sure we want this." What's your message to the folks in New Hampshire about this proposed ICE facility? The message is that, illegal. Immigration, while the border is secure, is still a problem across our entire homeland. In the previous administration allowed nearly 20 million illegal aliens from countries all over the world into our country, and the President and Secretary Noem have done a phenomenal job at deporting. Nearly 3 million illegals have left the country either through deportation or self-deportation over the past year. But obviously there are a lot more illegal alien criminals left in our homeland. That includes in New England. Let me be clear about terminology. I'm not calling these detention facilities. They're concentration camps. That's the accurate description. And there's significant opposition developing, not just a little bit of backlash, as Leavitt tried to minimize it. Substantial resistance is building. Communities are blocking construction. Legal challenges are succeeding. Progress is being halted. Rachel Maddow documented these victories, if you need some encouragement. But as much of an embarrassment as this is for the Trump administration, which apparently can't even spell New Hampshire, let alone lie to it with a straight face, the person for whom this has become a real political debacle turns out to be the New Hampshire governor, because she is a Republican. Her name is Kelly Ayotte, and she has botched this thing in about 30 different ways. When the ACLU published documents earlier this year showing that the Trump administration had talked to at least some officials in New Hampshire about this forthcoming prison camp, Governor Ayotte said, well, she didn't know anything about it. She blamed a state agency under her purview for failing to tell her about these discussions. That ultimately led to the resignation of one of her cabinet officials. The governor said she had tried to get the Trump administration to answer questions about their plans for this prison camp at Merrimack, but they wouldn't answer her. That became a problem for Governor Ayotte when the head of ICE was asked about it at a Senate hearing a few days ago. He not only confirmed that the Merrimack Trump prison camp was a go, he said his agency had specifically spoken with Governor Ayotte about it. They talked to her personally. He said, quote, DHS has worked with Governor Ayotte. We've spoken to the governor about the facility. Governor Ayotte immediately denied that was true. She once again claimed that she had no idea what any of this was about. She said the Trump administration had sent her no details about their plans for Merrimack, which is why the White House promptly sent over those Type 4 plans for the prison in her state and how great they'd be for Oklahoma. Meanwhile, as we've seen everywhere, ICE wants to put one of these prison camps. The pressure against doing any such thing is growing and growing. Voters in New Hampshire, local residents, continue to protest it. We possess the capacity to resist. We can secure these smaller victories that are actually significant victories. We can shift public opinion. We should, we must, and we will. Here's what today's press briefing revealed. First, Leavitt cannot defend Trump's racism. When challenged directly, she froze. She had zero examples ready because no examples exist. Trump is racist. The evidence is overwhelming and continuous. Second, their defense strategy relies on attacking random internet users. They cannot point to Democratic leadership making false accusations because Democratic leadership accurately describes Trump's bigotry. Third, the double standard is institutional. Random TikTok users represent all liberals. But the president's own statements somehow don't represent conservatives. Fourth, resistance is working. Detention facilities are being blocked. Legal challenges are succeeding. Communities are organizing effectively. Fifth, media accountability remains broken. Trump's racist posts generate one day of coverage before everyone moves forward. Meanwhile, any Democrat who raises their voice faces immediate consequences. Here's what to watch going forward. Watch Leavitt's future briefings. She's been exposed as unable to defend the indefensible. Reporters now know she'll freeze under pressure. Watch the detention facility fights. Local resistance is winning battles across the country. These victories matter. Watch the framing game. Every time MAGA cites the left saying something extreme, check the source. It's almost always anonymous internet users, never elected officials. Watch the censure efforts. Rowena is pursuing accountability for Randy Fine's disgusting statement. That process matters. Leavitt got laughed at today because she couldn't provide one single example of Trump being falsely accused of racism. That's because no such example exists. The room recognized it. The reporter recognized it. Even conservative media in that room recognized it. Trump is a bigot. His spokesperson cannot defend him. And the laughter in that briefing room told the entire story. Subscribe to this channel and hit the notification bell. We're tracking every press briefing failure, every accountability moment, every victory against this administration. Like this video. Drop a comment with your thoughts on Leavitt's humiliation. Share this with anyone who still thinks Trump isn't racist. Keep fighting, stay informed, and I'll see you in the next